this is Emma,
and Michaela,
and you're listening to Sleeping in Park,
where we talk about our trips and tips to visit beautiful places.
Follow along as we learn and share stories about our public lands and stops along the way. Yes, we're going to talk about Bighorn National Forest. I would say
First national forest.
yes, and one of our favorite national forests.
Oh, big time.
We love it here.
Big time.
It is in north central Wyoming, and it is over 1.1 million acres of diverse terrain, alpine meadows, glacial valleys, and limestone cliffs.
It was established in 1897, offering year-round recreation. And then, so a couple differences between national forests and national parks.
They're completely different. They're operated by completely separate entities.
Yeah.
You have the National Park Service and the U.S. Forest Service.
Yeah. So for national parks, their purpose is to preserve nature, wildlife, history, and it's managed by the National Park Service, which is run by the Department of Interior. And national parks typically have stricter rules, a little bit more limited hiking and developed camping areas. And then also most national parks are not free to enter and also do not allow dogs.
And national forests, their purpose is conservation, recreation, lumber, grazing, and mining. It's managed by the U.S. Forest Service and run by the Department of Agriculture. You can typically have more freedom with what you can do here, whether it's hunting and fishing, using off-road vehicles inside of the national forest, and dispersed camping. They are typically free to enter and allow dogs on trails most of the time. We just thought it was important to note the difference because for the longest time, I thought national forests were part of the National Park Service.
Yeah, so
even though I should have known better because I know that I already knew national forests. You could use their wood and their mining and their oil.
Like we talked about, like even in our like Christmas episode, we talked about how you can go into national forest and harvest their trees.
Yeah,
but it's like that. Like I don't know why we never put two and two together.
Yeah, don't ask me that. Yeah. But you'll hear us mention Cloud Peak Wilderness a few times, and it's a protected area within the National Forest. Cloud Peak Wilderness is 191,914 acres, and elevation ranges from 5,500 feet to 13,175 feet, and that's within the whole National Forest.
Cloud Peak Mountain is
the highest
point.
Yep.
Yeah. And then park map.
Well, and Highway 14 goes through the north part of the forest and splits off at, if you're looking at it, it's down here. It's like over here, Burgess Junction, into a Highway 14A that brings you to Gray Bull Highway 14, which brings you, and Highway 14 brings you to Lovell.
Yeah. Sorry. And that's going east-west. And then Highway 16 is like the southern part of the National Forest. Sorry, words are hard. And that starts in Buffalo and ends in Worland. Right. So these mountains were formed 68 to 60 million years ago by a compression that pushed up a 2.5 billion year old Precambrian igneous and metamorphic core. And this has some of Earth's oldest rocks.
I just learned all about this morning. Because I'll do geology for the next national forest. I haven't done geology yet, so I'm not really learn about geology.
A lot of it's very similar.
Yeah.
And it's the same, like, just because we've mainly done the Rockies, I've talked about the Laramide orogeny before, and it's the major tectonic event that formed these mountains, like the Bighorn Mountains, and then they also included the whole Rocky Mountain range from Canada to Mexico. So it's like, I don't know why I never, like, looked into this a little bit more, because it's, like, such a huge thing, and all the geology that we've covered so far. But, basically, a big plate subducted at a low angle under North America, causing intense uplift and folding in the layers above that, and that formed the mountains. So that's basically what happened, and it was just this giant tectonic event. The Bighorn Mountains are a topographic high created by the Bighorn Arch, which is a massive 150-mile long by 60-mile wide geological uplift. So that's kind of how big it is, roughly. And then the core structure. So the heart of the range is exposed Precambrian granite and nice. That's how you say that, right?
Yep.
Okay. And you can see this 2.5 billion-year-old rock at Shell Falls, which is off Highway 14. And then there are
One thing I do want to say about the U.S. Forest Service website, while there's not as much information as the National Park Service, but it tells you where you can see these rocks.
Yes.
And I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
But there are thousands of different sedimentary rocks, including some of the like more prominent ones, such as the Bighorn Dolomite, Madison limestone, and Jefferson limestone. And they blanket the coral, representing ancient shallow marine environment from 570 million years ago. So the Bighorn Dolomite is 450 million years old, which is actually apparently it's good for rock climbing. And it's characterized by its hard honeycomb weathered surface, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's
I was like,
a different way to describe it.
I'd like to see that, like the honeycomb weathered. I'd like to know what that looks like. And then the Madison limestone is 320 to 360 million years old, and you can see it at Shell Canyon and in Ten Sleep Canyon, and it contains fossils from ancient sea life.
Ten Sleep Canyon was one of the canyons that the National Park Service recommended climbing at instead of Devil's Tower National Monument in June.
I know, I saw that, I was like, oh,
we know that canyon.
I know that canyon. And then Jefferson limestone is 359 to 419 million years old. And it's got kind of a light to dark brown color and represents shallow marine deposits. And then, okay, these are a couple of just cool things in the area. The Fallen City. This was actually really interesting. So it's a natural geological formation near Burgess Junction, and it features massive limestone boulders that resemble toppled ruined city buildings. And it was apparently due to an ancient geological uplift and like fracturing. So it was like a big rock slide, but apparently it's like a lot of these rocks are just huge and resembles like fallen buildings. I was like, that's actually so cool. And then there's another one. It's called the Falling Block. It's a 450 million year old block of limestone that fractured from the Bighorn Dolomite, and it's 12 meters high, like all, and then it's a 75-foot square, and just perfectly square block, flat side, just random block, but you can see it on a 0.9 mile hike. So like, oh, it's kind of cool. And it's just like really massive random block of rock. Odd. Yeah, it is very odd. It's weird looking. I was looking at it today. Interesting, but okay. So as you're driving the road, there's a ton of informational signs. So whenever if you're on the road and you're doing pull-offs, there's tons of informational signs.
I would say there was some.
But we stayed on the main highway. There's more if you go on to Highway 14A. And 6. I'm sure there's more on 16, but
16 is the more popular way to travel through the National Forest.
Yeah. So 14.
I didn't remember seeing any, but I loved it up there.
Oh, me too. Oh my gosh.
We actually are going back hopefully this year, and we're planning to drive the loop so we can hit all 3 roads. We're gonna just spend a day driving around the entire National Forest.
I'm so excited
because we haven't seen Highway 16 or 14A.
Yeah,
but we still want to see 14 again because we love it so much.
It was just so pretty. Well, and like when we saw it, it just took us by surprise.
It's just if I could live anywhere and it's not Grand Tetons, it is Bighorn National Forest.
It is there
on Highway 14.
Yeah.
Right where you see the giant mountains and wildflower hills and the cows are moving and you're brushing your teeth in the morning.
Like, I actually saw, when I was doing research, I was looking at pictures and I saw exactly where we saw the cows in that big rock, and like it was a picture from that plot where we brushed our teeth that morning. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's where we saw the cows. But there's also a huge variety of ecosystems in this national forest. You can see a little bit of like a kind of a rocky desert type areas to lush meadows to mountains and just all you literally get a little bit of everything in this park or in this national forest. It's honestly just go there. That's all I gotta say.
Or don't. There weren't that many people. I liked it quite.
That's true.
I'm just kidding. Everyone who listens to our podcast
Should go. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys go.
Yeah.
Well, it's like a little hidden gem, I think. We should keep it as a hidden gem.
I feel like national forests, people just don't seem to flock to quite as much as national parks, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Because usually there's a reason why you have national parks and then national forests.
Yeah.
But this, it doesn't give me quite the national park feel that like Custer does, where it's more touristy.
Yeah.
National parks have a little bit more tourism, I feel like, and a little bit more infrastructure, maybe.
Yeah.
But we also haven't done Highway 16, so maybe that's where it'll feel more like,
true.
maybe
True.
replace the 63rd National Park.
Okay, and then my question, how many glaciers are there? Do you think there's any?
Currently?
Currently.
Maybe. So this is a yes or no question then?
Okay, you can say 0.
Okay.
Or you can say 0. We'll go 12. 1. 8.
Yeah, I feel like 12 came out of your mouth faster than the other two, so let's say 12. Because I know that there are glaciers in Custer, Gallatin National Forest, and Shoshone National Forest that are pretty close to there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say 12 seems so excessive though, because Glacier only has like 26 or something. And the other options were 1 or 4. I'm going to stick with
0, 1, or wait, 0, 12, 1, 8.
I don't. I guess 8.
Just skip 8?
Yeah.
Okay. No, there's 1. There's 1 active glacier in the Bighorn Mountain Range. It's on Cloud Peak, and it's 22 hectares big.
Which that's Canadian, right?
It's not American.
I don't know why I thought I've heard hectares or hectares
on Heartland.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that's
22 hectares.
Yeah.
I don't know how many many American acres. But it is the only active glacier in the Bighorn Mountain Range. And it has lost 85% of its volume between 1905 and 2005. So in that 100 years, it lost a good portion of its volume. But the glacier holds spiritual importance for Wyoming indigenous people. So
I didn't know that glaciers did.
I didn't know that either. I thought that was really interesting. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting when I read that. So I guess I didn't look into it anymore.
Yeah,
but
interesting.
Yeah. But that's all I got on geology for you guys.
Okay, so this is actually kind of cool. I didn't know this, but there is a National Historic Landmark inside of the National Forest. It is called Medicine Mountain National Historic Landmark, and it is a medicine wheel. So it is a sacred site for many Native Americans and archaeological property used by different tribes. It is 4,080 acres, and that includes a high concentration of natural formations and vistas that are perceived as cultural features and one of the largest stone medicine wheels in North America. So the medicine wheel is a roughly circular pattern of stones. This one is about 82 feet in diameter, surrounding a central stone cairn, I believe, right? You know, like the stack.
Yeah.
So that's about 12 feet in diameter. In the center of a hollow oval cairn of rock forms is 28 radial lines extend to the peripheral circle, and around and near the peripheral circle are 6 more cairns.
Yeah.
So it kind of just looks like a wheel.
Yeah, I looked up, or like I had looked it up because I thought it was interesting. Just like a picture of what it is, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it represents the circle of life. The 4 quadrants typically represent directions north, south, east, and west, as well as life stages birth, young, adult, and elder, as well as health aspects, so physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental.
Oh.
And then there are also elements and colors that are often associated. So the elements are earth, air, fire, and water, and then the colors are white, yellow, red, and black. But this can vary. The colors can vary by tribe, I believe.
Okay.
And so it's used as a teaching guide to evaluate and restore balance in personal life and community. And then it is a sacred symbol. It's not just a tool, but a symbol that is used in ceremonies and to represent the creator or the great spirit at the center. It symbolizes the unity of all creatures, nature, and the universe to certain Native American tribes. And the age estimate range for this medicine wheel is a few hundred years to more than 3,000 years.
Oh.
So,
So they don't really know.
no. But the National Historic Site was established in 1970, and the site is nearly 10,000 feet in elevation, and access road does not open until July 1st. Access by foot is typically open by mid to late June through mid-September. Visitors are required to walk on the road from the lower parking lot and the interpreter's cabin to the medicine wheel, which is roughly 1.5 to 3 miles round trip. And physically challenged individuals may drive or be driven to the small parking area next to the medicine wheel, with restroom facilities located at the top in the parking lot by the medicine wheel. And it is an active sacred site to indigenous people, so please be respectful during your visit. On-site interpreters may temporarily close visitation, usually for 45 to 60 minutes for private Native American ceremonies. And there are a few rules there about different photos during ceremonies and some specific things. So if you're going, please just make sure to look into that. They might
Yeah.
have signs there. We haven't been there personally.
Yeah.
The Paleo Indians inhabited the canyons, utilizing the area for hunting and, as evidence suggests, visiting the medicine wheel as well. The Crow people have a deep history in the region, using it for hunting, and by the 18th century, sharing the area with the Eastern Shoshone, Flathead, and Kootenai tribes. Mountain men and traders such as John Coulter entered the Bighorn Basin after this time, and the Bozeman Trail brought conflict, resulting in the establishment of the Fort C.F. Smith and intense clashes between the U.S. Army and Native tribes. As we've learned this, the theme throughout the United States, but just particularly in this area. And then President Grover Cleveland created the Bighorn Forest Reserve in 1897.
Yeah.
I thought that was crazy. I know you said that earlier, but I was just like, wow. Which later became Bighorn National Forest, and the area continues to be used for ranching, timber, and recreation today, which is why we see cows.
Cows. Yeah.
But between 1938 and 1940, the CCC, or Civilian Conservation Corps, built roads, bridges, ranger stations, fire lookouts, reservoirs, telephone lines, campgrounds, and trails through the national forest. They just built everything, basically.
Everything.
But a few notable mentions are their build of the Meadowlark Lake, Burgess Ranger Station, and Big Goose Ranger Station.
Big Goose. I like that.
And then there are also 3 historic fire lookouts that remain. So the first is James T. Sabin Lookout. James T. Sabin Lookout was named in honor of a Civilian Conservation Corps foreman at 10 Sleep Camp F-35 and former service ranger from Hyattville, Wyoming. Mr. Sabin died on August 21st, 1937 from injuries sustained while fighting the Blackwater Fire in the Shoshone National Forest.
Oh, wow.
This fire lookout was constructed by the Civilian Conservation Corps in 1942, and in September 2016, the Forest Service nominated James T. Sabin Lookout for listing on the National Register of Historic Places.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. This lookout is a popular destination for hikers. This fairly steep trail is about a half a mile long and winds through beautiful rock formations and large, heavy timber. To visit the lookout, drive west from Buffalo Highway 16, about 35 miles, and then turn left onto Forest Service Road 429 and continue on this road to get to the lookout.
And then there is Sheep Mountain Lookout, which was constructed in 1950 atop Sheep Mountain at an elevation of 9,600 feet. The Sheep Mountain Lookout was used as a fire lookout until the 70s. Visitors enjoy panoramic views of the scenic mountain peaks that make up the backbone of the Bighorn Mountains in the Cloud Peak Wilderness area. around to the Powder River Basin. And on a clear day, possibly a view of Devil's Tower National Monument.
That is so cool.
It's so cool. Sheep Mountain Lookout is eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places. This lookout offers visitors a rare experience of being one of the few fire lookouts in the region available for overnight rental.
That's pretty cool too.
That is pretty cool. And this is one of 3 recreation rentals available in the Bighorn National Forest. Recreation fees provide revenue and make a meaningful difference for forest visitors by protecting and preserving historic structures. Rental fees from the Sheep Mountain Lookout have been used to rebuild the lookout's catwalk and make other repairs. The lookout is located off Forest System Road 429. You take Forest System Trail 70 for less than half a mile through thick forest and interesting rock formations to the lookout.
That's so cool, weren't it?
That is so cool.
That would be really unique experience. Like an elevated sleeping in park, because you'd be sleeping in like
a fire
your
lookout.
Yeah.
Sleeping in fire lookout.
And then the last of the 3 is Black Mountain Lookout. It's constructed on the rocky exposed peak of Black Mountain in 1939. The lookout served as part of an early fire detection program, and it was used until 1980 until other methods such as airplane flights took over the need for staffing remote fire lookout towers. Later, the site served as a part of a Forest Service radio communication system and housed a tower, batteries, and other needed equipment. The communication site was moved to a less hostile environment after high winds and extreme temperatures repeatedly damaged the equipment and the tower. Yikes. The lookout was refurbished around 2017, but the extreme weather continues to damage the historic building. Currently, the catwalk is closed to public entry. Repair plans are being made in hopes that this popular hiking destination can be open again in the near future. The trail remains open to the summit, but the catwalk and building are closed for structural reasons. The trail can be reached at the end of the service or at the end of Forest System Road 222 off Black Mountain Road, FSR 16. The trail is approximately 1 mile but very steep, and most of the trail is open to motorized vehicles less than 50 inches wide, and about the last 300 yards is non-motorized single track vehicles only.
Yeah. All right, and then I added another one in here because I just thought this was
so cool.
I added Bald Mountain Overlook. This rock contains quartz and resembles the rock that contained gold found in many parts of the West. The fine grained gold north of Bald Mountain was discovered in 1890, and gold fever brought tons of prospectors to the area over the following 10 years. And in 1892, the Fortunatas, maybe, mining and milling company purchased a group of claims on the head of Little Horn River and Porcupine Creek. This excitement led to the establishment of Bald Mountain City, which was the most extensive attempt at settlement in the Bighorn Mountains.
Do you know where this is? Like which part of it?
To get here, from Lovell, Wyoming, take Highway 14A to Medicine Wheel Passage Scenic Byway, and then east for 33 miles, and the observation site is on the north side of the highway.
So it's off of 14A?
Well, so it's off of the Medicine Wheel Passage Scenic Byway, which is off of 14A.
Okay.
So they discovered the gold in 1890. How long do you think they stayed in this, like, or was the city a thing, basically? Bald Mountain City, the most extensive attempt at settlement in this area.
Did they found gold though?
There was gold, yeah. They found gold there.
And they kept finding gold. Like it was, I guess I don't know how long it takes to mine gold out of.
I don't know either. But
3 years?
3 years? Well, so basically the gold rush in the Bighorns ended by 1900. So Fortunata's Mining and Milling Company purchased the claims in 1892, and by 1900 they had to
Pack
pack up and leave because they weren't finding enough gold to even pay for the panning, like, to even pay for everybody being out there, so
Yeah.
so,
That'll
yeah,
happen on them big
it was,
jobs.
yeah. But I just thought it was pretty cool that there was, like, a lost city out there. Not
Yeah.
lost, but, like, an abandoned
Yeah, that they tried to do something with and it
yeah, I was like, "Oh,
didn't pan out.
that's actually kinda cool."
Yeah. So there is a diversity of plant life in the Bighorns as well. The forest is especially known for extensive mountain meadows filled with wildflowers in the spring and summer and pockets of aspen trees that provide splashes of vivid color in the fall.
Oh,
The best animals to see in Bighorn National Forest are large mammals like moose, elk, mule deer, and the namesake bighorn sheep. But wildlife is abundant in this forest. So while visiting, you may see bighorn sheep, elk, pronghorn, moose, deer. Other wildlife may be black bear, mountain lions, coyotes, although these three are rarely seen.
oh,
Beavers, marmots, shrews, snowshoe hares, eagles, falcons, and 120 other bird species, along with bats, including a rare spotted bat.
oh,
Yeah. So this rare spotted bat, they are medium sized with jet black back with white spots on their shoulders and rump and a white underbelly, and their ears are up to 40 millimeters long.
so their ears are probably, like, what, like, the size of their
It
bodies?
seems kind of like it.
Also, I
Well,
just noticed we've gotten kind of into bats lately, apparently.
yeah, well, that's because there's apparently weird, interesting
Yeah,
bats. But I like
but
that they eat the bugs,
me
and
too.
apparently there are just rare bats all over.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know there was such variety of
I
bats.
know they are very important. I do know
Yeah,
that.
yes,
Please keep eating my
yes,
mosquitoes.
please.
But they prefer roosting in steep rocky cliffs and canyon walls,
Mhm.
often near water sources. They are insectivores, and unlike many bats, their echolocation calls are sometimes audible to the human ear. So, while historically considered rare, they are not currently listed on as threatened or endangered, though they do remain a species of concern. And their documented occurrences in Wyoming are often associated with canyon areas such as Bighorn Canyon National Recreation Area and Bighorn Forest. The spotted bat is often found in similar habitats to other regional bats like the pallid bat and Townshed's big-eared bat. Okay, so if this bat isn't named the big-eared bat, how big are the big-eared bat's ears?
I don't know, but I wanna know.
Um, you can look at moose in meadows, streams, and marshy areas. Elk and deer are in forested areas and hillside meadows. And then for just general wildlife, look in Ten Sleep Preserve, Cloud Peak Wilderness, and Bighorn Canyon. And okay, now I'm going to get into a little bit about bighorn sheep, the
Oh,
namesake of Bighorn National Forest, and my question. So, bighorn sheep can run up to 30 miles an hour and have specialized split hooves with rough, rubbery soles for incredible grip on steep terrain like mountain
I was just
goats.
gonna say sound kinda like mountain goats.
They inhabit the mountainous region of North America, eating grasses in summer and woody plants like willow and sage in the winter. Their horn size indicates age, with rings used to determine how old a ram is. Both sexes have horns, but only males have the large curled variety. And then also, in my research on bighorn sheep, I found a Bighorn National Sheep Center. So, my first question, what are female and male groups called? I have some varieties. So, just female and male,
Okay.
female and bachelor, mother and male, or nursery and bachelor.
Ooh. I'm gonna say female and bachelor is my guess.
It's actually nursery and bachelor. So, females live with their
Really?
young in nursery herds, and I love that so much. And I just thought it was so cute that the females are just called nursery herds because they're raising their young, and then their young just live with them. I think that's why they're called that. But
That just reminds me of the one we saw in Jasper.
the lot of
The
yeah,
lot of them.
yeah, that was a
That was
decent
a
herd of
big
just
herd.
babies and mamas.
Yeah. Just running on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then in the parking lot, they just
yeah.
yeah, that was crazy. But males live in a separate bachelor group until mating season, and then they kind of meet up, and then split back apart. But
So do they like because I'm just thinking back to like when we had seen like the groups before and I felt like we saw like a couple of males.
no, those were females because they still have horns and curl, like they just don't curl as much.
Oh,
So they're horns,
so they
but
still curl a little bit, but not
Yeah.
like the full curls.
yeah.
Like,
Do you remember in Banff when we saw those two sitting?
yeah,
Those
those were
had yeah,
males.
those were males.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've seen more females than males.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
For sure.
Okay, and then how can bighorn sheep survive in the desert? I have a few options. Multiple are correct.
Oh.
Sweating, panting, just their skin is built that way where it doesn't take in heat as much as others. The ability to hold moisture internally better than other animals, and not needing as much water.
Okay, the one where they are able to hold in water more sounded very specific. Kind of like a camel was? Is that what you're talking about?
Sure.
Okay. And then, okay, wait, so you said sweating, panting, their skin, way it's made,
Yeah.
and then they're able to hold in water and they don't need as much water.
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna say it's those. How many are right?
Okay, that's three are right. Three are right.
Okay. I'm gonna say the last two.
Okay.
And then maybe sweating.
So that's half right. So it's actually it's sweating, so like their ability to perspire as well as panting.
Okay.
And then
I wasn't sure. I was kind of going.
well, I thought it was kind of
panting.
funny when
Yeah.
I read
Well,
panting,
because I was thinking back to like the little babies with their tongues out. And I was
Yeah.
like, maybe, but maybe the babies are just weird.
That was
but
yeah.
okay.
And then not needing as much water because so bighorn sheep can go months without drinking water, surviving solely on the moisture from the plants, and can lose up to
Wow.
30% of their body weight to dehydration without dying.
Wow.
To cope with the heat, bighorns can pant and perspire. So, and that's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
Lose up to 30% of their
Yeah,
body
that's a
weight
lot.
just to dehydration and survive.
That's a lot.
Yeah. That is a lot.
That's crazy.
It is.
All right, now that we've blabbed all about this place, it made you just want to go there so
Yeah.
bad. We'll help
You
you
should.
figure out trip details.
Yes. Love that.
You do.
I do love it. So you can see it in one day, but really you should try for 2 to 3 because there are different parts of the forest to see.
Yeah.
So I think stay one day up here, stay another day down there. Maybe stay 2 days up
2
here.
days up here because you have the 2 scenic roads.
Yeah. But maybe also 2 days down
But
here.
maybe
Because there's a lot to do down here.
there is, yeah.
So
just do it all.
2 to 3 days, it'll give you time to do scenic drives, find some wildlife, and get a hike in. Also, this is a great forest to see moose. We've seen 4 moose here in our limited time passing.
Very limited.
We saw one moose when we were just driving through to a different destination when we didn't even know about this place.
Yeah.
And then we camped there. One night, we saw 2 moose and another in the morning.
Campsite.
Yeah, in our campsite.
Yeah.
So, great place for moose.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And then also I would camp or, stay on
so like the top and the bottom.
top and the bottom. So some places to stay, a couple of lodges in the park. There's Elkview Inn located off the Bighorn Scenic Byway. Bear Lodge Resort near Dayton, and it's on a beautiful lake. And then there's Spiro Wingham, which has cabins and offers activities like horseback riding and fishing inside the national forest.
And there are some lodges outside the park, obviously, as well, in the gateway towns. So Sheridan and Buffalo are larger towns with more hotel options, and then Gray Bulls, Dayton, and Lovell are towns at the base of the mountains with some historic hotels and motels. I do know that some of those towns are small and don't have many lodging options, but
and then campgrounds inside the park. There's 35 options.
So campsites and the cabins. So we weren't going to list them all because that would have been ridiculous if I typed out 35.
But we stayed at Sibley Lake and absolutely loved it.
We also missed half the lake and still loved it.
Okay, so we didn't even get to see the main lake. We saw like this little pond.
Lake?
It looked like a small pond.
But it was kind of foggy, so it closed off part of the where it connected to the bigger part with the really pretty wood dock. But we saw 2 moose down there. So that was
did.
Really
cool. Oh my gosh, that was.
But so we loved it. I would recommend staying there.
Oh, 100%.
Decent
I would stay
campsites,
there.
and I think they had more sites closer to the
Yeah,
actual lake too.
they did.
We had one closer up front. I believe it's one of the only electric um
Yeah.
hookups in the forest, or one of the few.
Mhm.
And then all these campsites, I found there are some on recreation.gov, but then also the USDA
Yeah.
Service Forest website had them listed out as well.
There's Typhoon Campground. It has spacious sites near bubbling mountain streams, making it great for wildlife viewing and stargazing due to minimal light pollution.
Boulder Park Campground is on the southwest side of the forest next to West Ten Sleep Creek. That's great for trout fishing and can accommodate trailers up to 60 feet.
Southport Campground, which is on the southeast part, which is located among longpole pines with views of 12,000-foot peaks nearby. And campground has picnic areas, water, and lots of sites.
And then Shell Creek Campground. Graybull, Wyoming's on the south side of 14, and they have walk-in tent sites near a creek offering trout fishing opportunities and is described as beautiful and peaceful. And I would guess so, because if they're walk-in sites, you will have less people.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how busy. I'm sure they get busy on weekends, especially in the summer and
Yeah.
stuff, but
But with the 35 campgrounds, I
you probably
think
get to
that,
spread up. But
yeah.
those are just a couple of the highest rated ones, and also the one we stayed at was also highly rated, and we loved it. It was gorgeous. Highly recommended it. But
And then there's not a ton of campgrounds outside the park. The closest one is Sage Creek Cabin on the west side of Bighorn Canyon National Recreation Area, which is like northwest of the part of like the national forest. And then there's a few that are northeast of Sheridan, which is the opposite way of.
but I would think, because it's so big and there's so many campsites, I would think if you don't get one
Yeah,
inside the campsite, it would be hard to
or
spend your day, or
inside
the
the
forest.
forest.
It would be hard to spend your days recreating in there to have the
Yeah.
drive to. And I would just recommend trying to get one inside
Yep, me too.
for sure.
Um, you don't have to make any like there's no vehicle registrations to get in there. It's a free area to go
Create,
through.
yeah.
So yeah. And then when to go, spring, great for wildlife viewing. You see elk, deer, and moose. June is the peak time to see wildflowers.
Dude.
And trails start to become more accessible. However, high altitude trails will probably still have snow. Um, Spring is the best time to see waterfalls, and this is also when bears start to come out of their hibernation. So be bear aware. Little extra.
And then in the summer, scenic drives are open, all the trails are open, lakes and reservoirs are open for activities.
And then in the fall, you get the colors that are amazing and full of bright yellow, gold, and orange aspens and cottonwoods. And then higher elevations change in late September, and lower elevations will peak in like early October. And then you also have the elk migration, and you can hear them bugling. And then also just be prepared for early snow.
And then in the winter, it's the easiest time to see deer, elk, and moose against a white backdrop with the snow. And snowmobiling is a great activity to explore the Bighorn Mountains. Expect heavy snow and road closures, so be careful while driving. Some of the winter closures are US 14A, Hunt Mountain, is closed for the winter season, and US 14 and 16 are open, but conditions can be a little sketchy in the winter. And then in the spring, avoid dirt roads, as I'm sure they're washed out.
Yeah.
And then even if a road is technically open, still drive with caution and expect snow drifts or ice. And be sure to check conditions before you go.
Yeah. Some cool things to do. A couple good places for like sunrise or sunset. Sheep Mountain Fire Lookout, which is on the south end of the park. And then honestly, just anywhere in higher elevation. Medicine Wheel area was another one that was highly recommended.
I think it'd be really cool, even just even on some of the pullouts on the highways. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like a scenic world.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So, and then bicycling. Many of the trails allow biking, just not in Cloud Peak Wilderness. Look on the USDA Forest Service website for more details if you're going to be biking in the area.
Yeah. And then fishing is allowed year round. It's known for trout. Some good spots were Lake de Smet, and Tyhack Reservoir. These are both on the south end of the park off Highway 16 near Buffalo. Um, some of the other fish you can find in this area include tiger muskie, walleye, and kokanee salmon, which are regularly stocked by Wyoming Game and Fish. And then be sure to buy a license and talk to locals or rangers for more like recommendations on where to go.
Horseback riding?
Oh yeah.
So it's allowed on some trails, look into specifics, and some places that offer trail rides. Paradise Guest Ranch in Buffalo, Wyoming, Eaton's Ranch in Wolf, Wyoming, which is west of Sheridan, and Spiro Wigwam in Sheridan, Wyoming, along with a few others.
And then the scenic drives, which we've talked about a little bit. The Bighorn Scenic Byway, which is the road between Dayton and Shell. And then the Cloud Peak Scenic Byway, or US Highway 14. And then the Medicine Wheel Passage Scenic Byway, which is between Burgess Junction to Bighorn Lake. And a couple overlooks. There is Sand Turn Interpretive Site on Highway 14. And Shell Falls Interpretive Site also on Highway 14.
And then Bald Mountain Overlook on Highway 14A and Beaver Creek Overlook on Highway 14A as well. And then Loaf Mountain Overlook on Highway 16 and Meadowlark Lake Observation Point on Highway 16. CCC built that lake.
Yeah.
And then wildlife viewing, the best time to see animals is dawn and dusk, as we've discussed. But the Circle Park Road for moose and deer are great. The Tongue River Canyon for marmots, rattlesnakes, raptors, and maybe even black bears. Porcupine Falls for black bears, bighorn sheep, and various birds. Cloud Peak Wilderness for elk, moose, black bear, and mountain lions.
Mhm.
Although I would not want to see mountain lions on a trail.
Nope.
I wouldn't even want to see bear on a trail.
Nope.
And then the 10 Sleep Canyon for birds of prey and elk. And we saw moose at our campsite, as we've said, in Sibley Lake, just off of the road, Highway 14. And we've also seen them just off of Highway 14, not even in our campsite. So
yeah. And then stargazing, honestly, just
it's rural. It's in the national forest,
in a
away
national
from
forest.
towns. Yeah.
Very minimal light pollution there.
Yeah.
So really, you can't just look up when you're there at night and you'll see the stars.
Mhm.
Oh, and for winter activities, just be sure to check the weather and snow depth, and then also knowing avalanche conditions and what to do if you're caught in an avalanche. The winter season is typically through November, December to March. Just yeah, avalanches are scary. Don't get caught in them.
No, don't do that.
And if you're snowmobiling there, have your avalanche pack.
Snowmobiling in Bighorn National Forest offers almost 400 miles of snowmobiling trails that are maintained, and a resident or non-resident user fee decal is required to be on the sled. For more details, go to the Wyoming Trails Program website. And then snowshoeing and cross-country skiing. There are 6 Nordic ski areas. On the north end, there is Sibley, Custer, and Antelope Butte Nordic ski trails, and on the south end, there is Pole Creek and Willow Park. These places have marked and groomed pack trails with ranges of difficulty levels, and the last one is the Powder Pass area, which is a backcountry experience and no designated trails or maintenance on that one.
For skiing and snowboarding, there are 2 downhill areas, Meadowlark Ski Lodge and Antelope Butte Mountain Recreation Area. And both places have something for all levels of experience.
There are over 1,500 miles of hiking trails with a good variety of family-friendly hikes to long backpacking trails.
Yeah.
There are no permits needed, but know and follow all regulations to protect the fragile environment.
Yeah. And then for backpacking, this is also just a great area for backpacking. According to All Trails, there's 14 trails that are 15 plus miles long. And then also no permits needed. But there is a 14-day limit with restrictions on how long equipment can be left. There are no grizzly bears in the Bighorn Mountains, but there is black bears, so just be sure to have proper food storage and be bear aware.
Yeah, and I did see that there have been reported sightings of them, but they're rare.
Yeah.
The reported sightings are rare. And then do your own research before going on hikes. Make sure to check with rangers, and All Trails is pretty decent. And then make sure you have a printed map because technology fails. You don't want to be stuck out there with a dead fawn. And then also you can ask a ranger for trail conditions and or recommendations
Yeah.
too.
So with our short hikes, which are 0 to 3 miles, we've got Porcupine Falls Trail, which is 0.8 miles. You do, however, get 364 feet of elevation gain, which is quite a bit in that short amount of time. This the descent is steep with 90 plus stairs, but the view the whole way down is more than worth it. And then you come to a 200 foot tall waterfall, and you can go swimming at the base of it. So
Really? Like it's
yeah,
allowed and
yeah,
recommended? Oh wow. That's
yeah. Like
cool.
people do it all the time,
Oh, your
and it's
fall
allowed.
is gonna
Yeah,
I was just thinking, if it's stairs, I
I
got
know,
this.
I know, right? That's what I was thinking too.
Another steep hike that offers aerial view of the Bighorn Mountains at the top. This trail is pretty much all uphill to the top of a rock formation that is surrounded by open grassland, and in the spring it's covered with wildflowers in early summer too.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness, it sounds gorgeous.
It was pretty cool. But it's like you literally just like walk up this big hill for a while and then you get to the top. And I mean it's cool, but like the Steamboat Point itself,
So it's not as cool of
it's
a
just
hike
like
on the way up. It's more a
yeah,
destination
it's
hike.
more like getting there, you see the aerial views of the Bighorn Mountains surrounding it. Um, but yeah, it looks cool. I was like, oh, okay. And then there's Sawmill Lakes Trail, which is 2.3 miles, and you get 334 feet of elevation gain. This trail starts in the woods, and you walk alongside a rocky stream for a while till it opens up to Sawmill Lake, and then you walk around the lake a bit, and it leads you to the Sawmill Dam and Reservoir.
And then into our medium 4 to 7 mile hikes, we have Tongue River Canyon, which is 4.8 miles with 813 feet of elevation gain. This is an out and back trail. It has a steady incline on the way out and a decline on the way back, but you get views of the Tongue River Canyon and walking alongside the Tongue River. Keep an eye out for wildlife like marmots, snakes, and hawks. This 4.8 mile hike is the most popular part of the trail, but the whole thing is 11.2 miles, so you could make it a
Yeah,
long one if you want.
yeah. And then Mirror Lake Trail is 5.8 miles, and you get 1,095 feet of elevation gain. This is one of the shorter trails in the Cloud Peak Wilderness area, and starts in a pretty wooded area and follows Middle Ten Sleep Creek. And at about 2 miles in, you see a small stacked waterfall, and then the trail opens up, and you eventually get to this insane mountain lake. Like it's cool.
And then Bucking Mule Falls is 4.9 miles and 452 feet of elevation gain. You start at the top of a canyon and then venture around it and get different views of the pretty rocks. Just over a mile in, you will come across a cute bridge over a little creek, and then at about 2.5 miles in, you come to the Bucking Mule Falls overlook, and this gives you a bird's eye view of the falls.
Yeah, so it's like you're farther away from it. You don't get right up close to it, but it's still pretty cool. And then for our long hikes, so the first one I have on here is 22.6 miles. So, but this one was so cool. Cloud Peak via Misty Moon Trail. And you get 5,337 feet of elevation gain.
In 22.6 miles,
Yeah,
though. So
yeah,
it's not like you're doing that in 5 miles.
no. But the trail starts off pretty easy up to Misty Moon Lake Base Camp, and then it starts to get harder. As you start to climb, you will come across a waterfall, and it's a great place to refill on water before you come to the boulder field. That's apparently pretty
What's with these
difficult
boulder fields and
yeah,
difficult to navigate?
I don't know, but it's not fun to navigate. And then from there, you get to do more rock scrambling to the summit, where you will find this super pretty bluish green alpine lake. Um, and it's like you come above it, and it was just so cool. And then on this trail, you'll pass West Ten Sleep Lake, Lake Helen, Lake Marion, and Misty Moon Lake. Very strenuous hike. Could be done in one day, but I couldn't do it in one day. So
I also know that this Cloud Peak can be a dangerous mountain to climb,
yeah. Oh yeah.
for sure.
Yes. And then
Quick weather changes.
yeah.
search and rescue missions out there.
And then also, you're just up at a way higher elevation, so they actually recommend you do it in like 2 days, just to acclimate your body a little bit more. Yeah. And also know your limits.
Yes, know your limits.
That was
a very good thing to say with this one. That's our long hike.
Yeah.
You would reach the top of Cloud Peak, which would be really cool, but also just make sure that you are an experienced hiker to do that.
For sure. Yeah.
So you don't endanger your life or anyone else's that has to look for you. So
yeah.
A few honorable mentions in the area.
Dude, literally everything. It's Wyoming.
Well, I would say Devil's Tower National Monument, and then the Black Hills. So we have Custer State Park, Mount Rushmore, Jewel Cave National Monument, Wind Cave National Park, Crazy Horses over there. Badlands is pretty close to there if you're coming that way.
Yeah.
Bighorn Canyon or Bighorn
Canyon
Recreation Area.
Recreation, yes. Those are the words that was escaping my brain.
Yeah. You could just drive the whole top state of Wyoming and be pretty set into South Dakota, and that would be pretty cool. Heck, even go from South Dakota, top part of Wyoming, into Idaho.
There you go.
Yeah.
Honestly.
There's lots of ways to hit this park, or this forest.
That's the way we did it.
I keep calling it a park. But we hit it one way that time, and the other time we hit it, and then from Cody went down to Yellowstone, and then went down. But yeah. So there's a few ways. You can reach out to us at sleepinginpark25@gmail.com or sleepinginpark DM us on Instagram.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed our first National Forest episode. There will be some more of those coming up pretty quick here because I don't know if you've noticed, but we're kind of traveling across South Dakota through Wyoming because we're following our second trip, all of our stops on our second trip. So,
which I'm excited. That was a good trip.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, all of our trips have been good ones.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Please like, share, and subscribe to
Sleeping in Park.